My name is Kamil Mahmood. I am a poet, and sometimes I do visual art, but I identify as a poet, a spoken word artist. It's about 10 years ago, I think. I went to a poetry event in Birmingham called Level Up, and I saw some incredible open micers who I'm like, some of them still friends with today, like a decade later. And Polar Bear, you've got a picture on your side, actually, a photo of Polar Bear. Polar Bear was the headliner there. And I remember just being quite wowed. I remember thinking, this is not what I thought poetry was. What is poetry? Like, my only idea of poetry was sort of the AQA books and what was taught by my like middle-class teacher, quite sanitized in terms of how it was taught. This was the first time that I saw poetry off the page, like being this living, breathing, moving, very captivating thing and very human thing. And I kind of got it and thought, oh, I might give it a go. And then I started giving it a go, and I got a lot of encouragement from people. And yeah, I'm here now, like 10 plus years later. The themes I love writing about, it's very like me, but I guess like writing about my lived experience. So I like writing about queerness, what it is to be a man, concepts of masculinity, power dynamics, where like my journey as a queer Muslim, also navigating that and navigating theology, which can be quite a chaotic journey. But I think part of like any form of sort of realization, becoming more human, it can often be chaotic, and it's a great opportunity to connect with other people who are also on that journey. And I think poetry also allows you to not just express kind of what you're feeling, but also bring something out into the world, create something into the world that can connect to people, and I guess give them hope, but like understanding, being seen. I think when I look at the type of poetry that I love, it's always the poetry that I shifts the way I see things, shifts the way I feel about things, and expands my perceptions. And I would love to contribute to that kind of collective consciousness for other people. What inspires me? If we talk about specifically, say, poets who inspire me, I love like the Birmingham poetry scene. There's so many poets that I see as my family now. Nafisa Hamid, Rufinda Kaur, Lexi. Oh, I could like name so many people right now, but I won't because it will take too much time. Further afield, I love Jasmine Mann's work. Jasmine Mann was probably one of the first spoken word artists that I came across, and the way that they perform is, I feel like no other poet I've ever seen. Alicia Harris, so a lot of the Strivers Row poets in New York, and say within the UK, I love Caleb Femi's work. They really are one of my like inspirations when it comes to writing, but also not seeing yourself as a multifaceted artist and being daring and going into different fields, because I think a lot of poets are multifaceted artists. And just a word for the wise, like poetry itself is not going to pay the bills. So you might need to find a few other things, a few other hats to put on as well. And then generally what inspires me, I think poetry has this great way of forcing us to question things. Question the politics of our time, question status quo. So, when I see a news article, when I see someone speaking about their experiences, wherever they are in the world, experiences of oppression, it calls to you as a human being to react to it, to take what they've given you and hold it and do something with it. And I feel like, we all have our gifts. I feel like poetry is like one of my gifts, and I would feel like I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't use this gift to speak, I guess, and echo the feelings of the marginalized, and give platforms and just talk about things I think are important. As someone who's engaged with therapy, I think there's an aspect of therapy where we learn to articulate the things that we have spent years and years unarticulating, shoving to the side, covering up with all of these sort of modes of denial and self-protection. And part of, say, the therapy process is untangling the maelstrom, untangling this tangle. And in doing so, it gives you a different perspective, and allows you to release, I think, a lot of the pain and make those connections, because trauma also, it destroys connections. It's also akin to a lot of kind of damage inside the brain. So, but I'm also a firm believer that therapy can also heal the brain. And poetry for me is very therapeutic because it allows us to articulate a lot of those things that we don't articulate. And then on top of that, you're articulating it into the world. You might be lucky to come across like a beautiful poetry community. So you have that aspect of the communal aspect, and all human beings need community in different ways and shapes and form. We're all striving for love in that way and connection and to be heard. I also think poetry allows us to have a glimpse into the lived experiences of people that aren't us. It helps us develop our emotional intelligence, expands our worldviews, see people as, not as like statistics, but also like infleshed, sound bites. Sometimes we come across, the way that we talk about people, the way we talk about people who experience massive oppression, often at the hand of our state. We kind of flick past their trauma. And I think if we were all more aware of everyone's trauma and the effects of trauma and contextualizing that trauma, it would be a better world. How do I feel when I perform a poem? I am still so very scared. I actually really admire poets who go on and are very fearless. A lot of the time I'll go on and I'm scared, but people, I guess, don't notice, or they think I'm being intense. And my voice is cracking because it's cracking. It's not cracking because I'm, the emotion is cracking. I mean, no, sometimes the emotion cracks me up, or cracks my voice, not cracks me up. But I feel the butterflies. I love the butterflies though. There's a feeling you get when you finish the poem and you go back to the stage and you sit down and you just let out this huge sigh. And it's weird because this almost has like this physiological reaction to you, a physiological reaction where, because there was so much adrenaline, like afterwards you can like just calm down. And I think it puts a lot of things in perspective. I think it shows that you care. Like, it shows that you care about the poetry. It's probably an aspect for why I like actually reading my poems from pages, because I think I'm subconsciously afraid of learning the poem. Like, in learning to recite the poem, I have to go over it so many times that I sometimes feel like the feeling might then be forced. It loses something, a quality of it. But then I come across poets who don't do that. So I think I've just come to accept that I am bound to reading from a book, and I'm lucky to have a nice sort of aesthetically looking book today, which makes me look professional. The thing I would advise, say, a young poet who's going to their first open mic or had just sort of glimpsed poetry as an art form and wants to give it a go, is don't take yourself too seriously. I think a lot of poets go onto the stage and they expect the poem to be like this perfect performance, probably because the open mic will have people of varying sort of, not varying levels, but maybe some people might be 2 years into their journey, 3 years, 5 years into their journey, and sometimes you'll go on and then start comparing yourself. I think, I say this as a hypocrite because I compare myself all the time, but comparison is your enemy. Don't compare yourself to other poets. What makes you special as a poet is your unique individual voice. And it's like anything. When you start something, you're not going to be great at it. We're developing constantly. Every poem you're performing, every poem you're writing, you're developing. So have fun, always have fun. And from a performance perspective, I think it's really important to breathe. Like, I know it sounds really simple, but sometimes when I see people perform and struggle, it's because they are not breathing. And the audience does not know what the poetry is meant to sound like. The audience won't know if you mess up a word or stumble on a word or change a word. They're not going to know. And even if they did know, they're not going to care. So I think don't take yourself too seriously, and always have fun and always breathe and try and find your unique sound, like your accent, the way you articulate things. That's beautiful. It's like, I remember seeing this thing with Lauryn Hill where I think it was on the MTV Unplugged, where they were talking to the audience and they were talking about the voice, like the idea of the voice being this, and Lauryn Hill's voice, like it's changed so much over the years. And she's saying to this audience, like it doesn't really matter what the voice sounds like. It's a voice. It's a voice, and it being a voice is the important thing. It doesn't have to be like perfectly in pitch and perfectly like perfection is just something like striving for perfection in that sense. What does that even mean? It's just like this, it's not a physical thing, perfection. You doing what you love is the important thing.